Australia, Illinois, Georgia, Michigan, and California. Mm-hmm. All right, so North Carolina, you are up.
Hello, I have a question.
Sure.
Mike, I have a good friend that is now a commercial pilot. He was a Air Force fighter pilot, and I never told him that I owned any dinar because actually I'm in South Carolina, and although we have a big military base, as you know, Fort Jackson in Columbia and some other places, we're so small that I would never, ever mention, and I bought my dinar way back in 2005, and I asked Jim about just casually mentioning the dinar, and he said it's a worthless currency, and I said, well, I realize that now, and I asked him on the pending revaluation, and he said, well, they always told us that they would just print a new currency, which I know they're going to do, and I know that Shabibi has said that they're going to run the two currencies concurrent, and I know that we paid to print the currency, but I just want to know, in your opinion, why this could never, ever happen. I hope I made some sense there. And I purchased it way back when from Ompus Free Dinar, and I got little coins and some smaller denoms and a little, this was way back in 2005, and I did it, and I just stuffed it away. And there's some smaller denoms in the package. And I put it away and knew that this was going to be years to happen, so I hope I made some sense to you.
Yeah, you do. I'm sorry. I'm trying to get a little water down.
I don't blame you.
Mike, while you get Mike?
Yeah.
Yeah, while you're getting that water, can I just touch base with you on something here that might tie into her question?
Yeah, please do. Go ahead.
When we're talking about new currency, it's not like this currency is going to disappear. This is the new currency the way I see it. What we're talking about in reality, they're using the word currency, we're adding new denominations to the currency. It's not that this currency is going to ever disappear or be reinstalled with a new currency per se. Do you think that's a play on words here, Mike, that people are getting confused with?
I think so. Let me speak to a couple of things that she said. I mean, one of the things some of the smarter people that went in for the Army that have been there, I mean, the Army can't come out and tell you to hoard this stuff. This is what's going on. They're gonna tell their troops not to do this because that would undermine the economy and everything that's going on over there. So I'm sure that what they were told was what they were told. You're right, Yukon, is this currency is going to run concurrent, and they're telling us that it's going to change. I do believe that this is going to revalue. What that price is, I don't know. But eventually this currency is going to have some sort of value in it. It's going to have to move forward. They can't continue to operate with what they've got. And I have to go on what they've told us, that they're going to run these currencies, the new denominations, the lower denominations, concurrently, so that there's not a rush to the bank and all this other kind of stuff that they can do. So I truly believe something positive is going to happen with this currency. And like you did, you stuck it in your drawer, you figured it was going to be a long time, and eventually something's going to take place, whether that's $1, a dime, $3, whatever that price actually ends up being, whatever the value is that you will have value in this currency at some point in time that we hold. What can stop it? I don't know. I mean, there's, the only thing that could really stop anything would be a war in the country, and I don't see that happening. So they're on their way out. So something's going to take place with this currency. It's going to have some sort of value, and some people can believe that, some people don't. And based on what we see, I truly believe they're going to have to add value to this currency at some point in the near future. What day that is, I don't know. Does that answer your question, or did I just confuse you more?
No, I'm not confused. I just, the thing about it is the little package that I got, had little coins, and I tell you, I've got to go to my safe deposit box at the bank, and there were several different bills, different colors, different sizes.
Right.
I think way beyond maybe the 500, and so I figured it just wasn't circulated. And there were some cute little coins that almost looked like Mexican pesos.
Right. Those never kind of got out to the people. Those coins never got out because they never had enough value. The coin value was never there, so they never used the coins widespread, and they would like to start using those. So, and there were, it gets confusing because there were smaller denominations that they did print. They did print a 50 dinar. I think there's 1,000 dinar. And I have to go to the website to go up there, but there's 2,500. So there are smaller denominations that they have. What they truly want to do in the long run is get a currency that was printed by themselves, so that wasn't printed by the Americans, and eventually replace that currency with a Kurdish language currency. And what they really want to do is do that slowly so that they don't shock the system and shock the people. So they will print a new currency with smaller denominations like a 25, a 10, so that they can handle the transactions and make them easier out there. And that will be with the three languages of the country, and it'll be more of a changing of that currency. But it's going to be similar to what we do here in America. We had, our money changes in America, and we just got the new $100 bills, the new $20 bills, and all that kind of stuff. And how it changes here is those new dollar bills come out, and you get them at the bank when you do your transactions, and your old ones slowly disappear off the street. And if you can think of how it happens here, that's how it will happen with the currency over there. It'll be very much concurrent, running together. The new bills will start showing up, the older bills will start disappearing, and then eventually at some point in time they'll be totally using the new currency, and a few of the older currencies won't be around, and they won't have to worry it from as much. So that's the process of how it kind of looks. And if that makes sense to you based on what you have, all that stuff will be convertible at an exchange rate, but it won't be useless or anything like that. It'll all have some sort of value based on the exchange rate.
Well, great, Mike. Thank you. That's what I asked, because I've been hiding in the shadows for 7 years, and knowing that, this was a kind of a buy and hold deal.
Right.
And that question just resurfaced whenever I talked to this fellow that's a vet, and I really have not really followed this thing for 5 or 6 years until about December, and I got wind of y'all, and I have to say you are the best. And I just wanted to put this kind of to bed, because whenever I first bought this currency years ago, I said, it's on a whim, and I bought a good bit of it here, and that's neither here nor there. And whenever I got the coins and the smaller denominations, and I've heard all this stuff, I just kind of wanted to put that rumor to bed, because I figured my little buddy really didn't want to educate himself on the situation.
That's it. Right. Some people don't. They want to stick their head in the sand with that, and that's great. And I want to congratulate you for being smart about this, taking it and putting it away and not letting it affect you and getting off the roller coaster. And we're glad that you're here, and we appreciate you.
Yes,
well,
we do.
Thank you very much. I've been in business. I'm about 50 years old. Well, I'm 50 years old, and all these people are just so silly, and I hate it for the
common sense is the best rule of thumb. I don't want to insult
anybody, the less educated people that really bite into this and that. And I will tell you, I have not thought about it. A very good friend of my father, and my father's 81 years old, called me when he was on vacation and said, "Have you heard about this?" And the man is very savvy, and I said, yes. And that was like December the 2nd, and that's when he sent me the dinar recaps with your call on there, and that's whenever I started watching again, because I have really not even looked at it for 5 or 6 years. So my hat's off to you guys. You're brilliant. You are a brilliant man, I can tell. I love UConn. I love all y'all. his sense of humor is beautiful, but I'm going to tell you what, you're one smart fellow.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that. I'm humbled.
And ma'am, I'd like to thank you. This is Yukon also. I taught Mike everything he knows.
I am so glad. Diana, Debbie, Tim, I love y'all, and go on with it. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you so much, ma'am.
Thank you, South Carolina.
Thank you very much. Australia, you are up. Star 6, Australia. Hello? Don't tell me he's not there. Okay.
Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you now.
Okay. I was doing a mic. Sorry, talking to myself.
Everybody knows you do well, Mike.
It's so easy to do, isn't it? Like, hey, listen, what I was saying when I was talking to myself was really nice to hear from that lady from South Carolina. I'm a fellow 50-year-old, and you know, I just wanted to add a bit of strength, really, to what we've all been saying about the dinar and about Mr. Shabibi, our newest friend. He's a central banker, right? And he's no different, really, to your own Ben Bernanke and whatever the guy's name is in Australia. See, I know more about American politics than I do about my own. It's sad, really. But anyhow, you know, when I get a tax refund, it's always, the check comes to me, and it's always a Federal Reserve Bank check. So what does that tell you? Right? Our taxes we pay tax to the Fed Bank. It's how the whole political system works. So anyway, I'm going off the topic a bit. So Mr. Shabibi is doing his best to get his country to use a dinar, right, instead of the US dollar. In the same way that your Ben Bernanke, whenever anybody, Ron Paul or anybody asks him about what do you think about gold and silver, you'll hear Shabibi, you'll hear Bernanke say, oh, you know, no, gold and silver, you know, that's not really money. And but I believe there are some states in America now which are beginning to print their own money or have done so. In the same way that in Europe, Spain is looking at pulling a bit of sovereign rank on the rest of the Eurozone and printing its own money. Same with Ireland. So, you know, we're hearing Shabibi tell us all about the strength of the dinar. And, you know, I think it's a great thing. And look, the lady from South Carolina has been off the radar, as it were, for about 5 or 6 years, or 5 years. Well, God bless you, man, because these are really exciting times. And don't let anyone call you foolish for having dinar, because, well, I would rather be the fool that has a dinar than the fool that said no to it. You know, and it is speculative, no matter which way you look at it. The whole thing is speculative. I hold stock in various companies that I think are wise to hold stock in, but I don't know what's going to happen. A war could break out anywhere. I agree. I don't think a war will ever break in Iraq again. I'm thinking next door maybe, but not Iraq so much. You guys have the largest, embassy in the world in Iraq, yeah? So there's a lot of stuff that America has invested in Iraq, and it all really points to an inevitable revaluation of some sort. It just has to. You know, these people can't be told to use their dinar and not have some purchasing power.
Mm-hmm.
Is that all fair enough?
That's very fair. Very.
I absolutely agree.
Amen. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Couldn't have said it better.
That's it.
Want to say it again? I'd love to hear you talk.
Sign this man up as a mod.
I know. We should. That was awesome.
Thank you, Australia.
Thank you,
Thanks, buddy.
Australia.
Cheers, mate.
Cheers.
Cheers, mate.
Good day.
All right, Illinois, you're up, and
kangaroo. Down, boy.
All right, Illinois, you're up, and I congratulate you on your win.
All right. I like hearing that. See it easy.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, it was a good game. I didn't get a chance to see it all, but it was good to beat the Red Wings. Always a good thing for that. And my prediction said it was, and I also said a prediction that something was going to happen Monday. Did you get that email there? Anyway, I want my toaster.
You got it.
Quick. Real quick. Again, appreciate all you guys there, and especially thanking all the vets that you guys did there. And, my friend Tony's a vet. He's the one who told me about you guys back in August, and I appreciate that. You really calmed a lot of things down. First of all, the budget that was passed there, is this the first time it's been passed this quick, Mike, or is there something there that they wanted to get done right away?
What's wrong with this call? I don't know if it's the quickest it's done. I know it's...
Hold on a second. Somebody's talking.
Please quit over-talking this gentleman. He's doing his best. Eddie, I've already been in.
Can we get that person talking, Diana or Tim?
Love you, night.
I'm trying to, Debbie. I'm trying. I think.
I know.
I got one of them. I think there was more than one.
There was. I think we're clicking at the same time.
All right, if you're not up, please stay muted until I call your state. We'd appreciate it so much. All right, let's try it again.
There we go. Sounds good.
All right.
No, I don't know if it's the quickest that they've ever passed a budget. I know that once they started going, it was February. It should have been done in January. They actually should have passed it in December, so it's taken them a little bit longer with the political situation that they've had going on over there. So, but it certainly seems like everything they're moving forward on feels like it has definite purpose, that it needs to get done to move them forward. So I certainly believe that budget was very important to moving things forward for Iraq, certainly to get the money into the people's hands, the oil revenues. That was the big thing from all of that. So
now that was in the budget, right? That was
yes.
Is about ready to get signed by I know they already passed it, but is he going to sign that thing or?
As far as I know, he's rubber stamped it, signed it, said it's okay, let's move forward, and they're headed towards implementation on the 6th of this month. So that's, from what I understand, signed, sealed, delivered, ready to start using the funds on the 6th of this month.
Do you think some of them laws you were talking about, the banking laws, were in that budget?
I don't think so. I don't think so. It sounds, based on what Dr. Shabibi's saying in the articles that I'm reading, that he needs a couple of other things done that need to be passed outside of that. And I think they have to do with letting the banks do more than just banking. They need to be able to let the banks do investment banking and other things to raise funds and to be more than just banks. They need to be able to help support the business sectors as well as the private sectors, because the business sector is going to grow a lot faster than the private sector will. The businesses are going to grow, the people are going to go to work, they're going to have the money, they're going to buy and do the things, and then eventually they'll come in and put their deposits in the banks. But the businesses are going to be the main things. The infrastructure building, business loans, people building businesses are going to be the things that are going to take off shortly, and they need to make sure that the banks can handle, and all the banks can bid for that business to make it a healthy banking system.
Mm-hmm. Another thing, Mike, I appreciate you taking the call and answering all the questions. By the way, that lady said you were intelligent. I think the ladies have a lot to do with that. They kind of make you look good. Anyway,
always.
But anyway, do you think all this with the RV and all that stuff? It seems like they're moving real fast here before that Arab summit. I think I heard you say a little bit about that. But do you think the RV also, or just in your opinion?
My biggest opinion is that they would look so much better going in, having everything done to the Arab Summit. Well, let's just say, okay, so let's take it logically. If everything's done and they go to the Arab Summit, they look awesome. They're stars. They can get everybody investing in them. So, okay, let's say worst case scenario. Let's just say they get the government in place and everything's in place and they know an RV is going to happen shortly after that summit. Then they're in good shape. They're not in the worst shape in the whole world. But the best shape is definitely getting everything going before that happens, so that they can all have that done. So my hopes and desires is that they would have everything done before that. Mm-hmm. And but they always seem to want to go at their own speed and do things at their own rate.
Right.
they're on their own time. So my guess is, yeah, I'm hoping, praying, got my fingers crossed, my toes crossed, and everything else crossed. But I'm also realistic enough to know that there's things that they could postpone those things and still look okay. You know, the RV could take place after that, and they still look okay.
Mm-hmm. All right, well, appreciate it. I guess I'll get back to drinking my Black Hawk Kool-Aid with my dinar Kool-Aid, and we'll go ahead and have a good evening, all right? Take care. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Illinois. Georgia, you're up. Star 6, Georgia. Georgia? All right, Georgia, I'm going to come back and get you at the end. Michigan, you're up.
Hi, good evening, guys. Mike, you're doing a great job, and the rest of you guys as well. Question is, the tariff laws are supposed to take effect on the 6th, you said. Don't they have to have an RV prior to tariff laws taking effect?
Not necessarily that they don't have to, but because if they don't have it RV'd, then they're going to create some inflationary pressures in their country, which is going to drive Dr. Shabibi crazy. From his standpoint, it's going to be wild if they do that. So we're going to wait and see if they don't postpone those. That'll be a good clue to see what's going on and really how close they think that he really is. But it would be more advantageous to have an RV because you have less inflationary pressures. Without that, you're just adding cost to something that's very valueless, and it drives inflation up almost exponentially inside the country. So we'd like to see that happen, but we'll see.
Yeah, it was kind of my opinion that we were watching for a delay in the tariff law and in that agreement, and if that delay came, then that would more or less push them back or buy them more time. So I guess for me, that's kind of a trigger point I've been looking for.
Yeah, it's a good one to keep an eye on. That's probably the best one, too, because of the inflationary pressures that creates. I assume they're probably going to put it off until they do have an RV. It makes sense. So we'll have to see over the next couple of days.
Now, I guess this is to anyone there, do you see any problems being created? They're calling for the arrest of Hashimi, and they have fears that he's going to leave the country. That really doesn't have, I don't think, a whole lot of effect on what's going on, but I was just surprised by that.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a lot of, he doesn't want to hang around. He doesn't think he's going to get a fair trial, so I don't know if he's going to want to stay or if he's going to take off, but it's all a negotiating chip at this point in time. So I'm kind of keeping that with open eyes to see what happens. I assume he'll probably back out of the country until they figure out what they're going to do with him, and he'll be a bargaining chip at the national meeting that they're going to have for whatever they decide to share the power. He's going to be part of that bargaining process.
And my last point is, you guys have heard from Randy Kuntz over the years. He's always made the argument that the GOI needs to appear and open the budget in order to have an RV. Do you agree with his rate idea based on the budget figures? It would be a 341, maybe as high as 386.
I looked at those numbers. I like those numbers. I mean, my numbers fall from anywhere over $1 to 20% more than what Kuwait is at, which is 366. You know, it's in that range, so I don't think his numbers are outrageous like we're hearing $12 numbers. They make common sense to me. So. Oh,
yeah, I don't believe that either. You said something earlier, Mike, you're about the only one. I've got some friends in this investment family. We've been talking for months about the idea that Shabibi is an honest guy, and he has a lot of integrity, and that he would offer a one-to-one to the people. And my thoughts were that their economy is rolling just like the clock. It's always moving. And so people are using the U.S. dollars, and they're trying to get them off the streets, and they're pulling in the dinar. But in order to do that in a fair way, I really buy your idea that they're doing a one-to-one, $25 for 25 1K notes, so to speak. And then at any point that they RV, those citizens are not ripped off, basically. I mean, they're getting an even trade, and then at the point that it RVs, then they see the value. They get the gain, so to speak. You're the only one to mention that. I just, my hat's off to you for that.
Well, I mean, it's based on what we read. It seems to be that he's a man of integrity, like you said, and he's got to create. He can't create any fear in his currency. And the minute that you do something that's not perceived by the public as being equal, you run into a problem, because that's what happened to them in the past. And I think he understands his economy, his people, to the T. I truly believe that he's a very honest man that wants to give every opportunity to the Iraqi people with this process. So,
yeah, I agree. And I think that, to me, that debunks the whole idea of 86 cents dropping 3 zeros. When they say 1-to-1, I've always believed that it would be an even trade.
Yeah.
So I appreciate you bringing that out. That should clarify it for a lot of people.
Yeah, and I mean, in that 86 cents thing, you got to have more value than the dollar that you're replacing. So it has to be over $1 minimum, period.
I agree. I agree 100%.
So, that's where I'm at with it. Common sense is a good thing to use. Thank you. I appreciate your questions. Take care.
Yeah, thank you very much.
And you were in Michigan, right, sir?
Yeah, I think you
were. Yes, Debbie, Michigan. Yes.
Okay, thank you. California, you were up.
Yeah, thank you very much for this afternoon. I missed a little bit, so if my question is out of line, I'm really, really sorry. So when is the Arab Summit? Is it this month?
March 27th through the 29th.
Okay, and am I understanding that you think possibly the RV will happen before the summit? That you're thinking that, or am I wrong there?
No, it's not that we're thinking that. It would be a good thing for that to happen from that standpoint. We don't know when that's going to happen, and anybody that claims that they really do doesn't really know. It's a process of going through. It makes common sense for them to have that in place. It would make them look good, but by no means do they have to. And no one really knows when that date is. We're just kind of making an educated guess that for them to look good at the Arab Summit, it would be a good thing for them to have that all finished and done.
And then is the national conference that's different than the Arab Summit?
Yes, it is. That's sort of think of it as a big political convention, like we have our political conventions here.
Right.
And at those conventions, each party determines what their party's going to run and what their planks are in that party. That's their national convention in Iraq. It's the political parties getting together, deciding how they're going to run, who's going to share the power, all that type of stuff. It's very similar to what we do here at those conventions.
And do you think that will be before the Arab Summit or after the Arab Summit?
They're telling us it needs to be before the Arab Summit, probably within the next 10 days to 15 days, based on what we've read.
Okay, and so, Mike, you sound pretty knowledgeable. So is it your opinion that possibly the RV will be before that national meeting?
I don't think so. I think the biggest thing that's missing before an RV can happen is the seating of the two ministers. Right. And that's the security minister and the minister of interior. I think once they have a fully seated government, the security minister is probably going to be the most powerful man in Iraq at that point in time. So that's a very important position for them to have, and the people want to make sure that they have somebody that's going to be able to take care of them, secure them. They don't want to be blown up all the time. And that needs to happen, and that will either happen right during the national convention or right after that, before the Arab Summit. And then any time after that's seated, then I think he's got the green light to go ahead and do what he needs to do.
I see. And one last thing. Were you saying that maybe Maliki's going to be removed or power's going to be taken away? Am I correct in understanding that?
It's possible. There's rumors and inklings that they want to do a vote of no confidence for him and take him out of that prime minister role. He would be not running the country as the head. They would put somebody else in there to take over that, but he would still be available to do things in his party. And if you do hear that happening, it's not necessarily a negative thing that's going to set things back, because he seems to be the person that's standing in the way right now. So if you hear that, don't freak out.
Okay, no, I won't freak out. And then the last question would be, if it comes out like a 1-to-1, let's say, do you expect it to stay that? Do you expect that to spike up and down for a little bit, or just to stay there for a while? Do you have any thoughts on that or guesses?
Well, what Dr. Shabibi has told us about his rate is he wants to have a managed float. And what that means, he's going to have one rate, and he's going to have to stick with that rate and let it only go up 2% in 6 months, up or down 2%. So it's very important. He wants to have a stable rate for the country. So whatever rate he determines to come out with, whether it's $1, $3, or $2, he's going to have to stick with that rate for a longer period of time and maintain that rate. So he has to be pretty darn sure what he wants coming out of the gate, because he's going to have to live with it for a while, because they're going to do what's called a managed float. It shouldn't fluctuate or go high and then drop. It should maintain it within a 2%
So that would
range.
be over a period of a couple months, right?
Yes, that's correct.
And
very slow.
And then maybe
very
later, as the dinar gains value, then maybe it would go up more later.
Possibility that it could. It's all speculation at this point in time. It's just us guessing. My guess is he's going to come out with a solid rate somewhere near Kuwait and try to manage that as best he can. But truly, he has the idea. He knows what he wants to be at, where he's going to be at, and we're just kind of along for the ride as we see it. So we'll know more when he decides to RV and what that rate actually is.
Well, that's kind of matching what my private banker in an area that's kind of high end has been saying through the currency people at the top of a major bank have been saying. They're very careful to say anything. They don't want to say anything, but they've been guesstimating like $1.17, something like that.
And that's where kind of most of the guesstimations are, and those are within reason.
Stay there for quite a while. They feel that it'll stay there for quite a while.
Wherever he comes at it, he's going to stay there for a while. That I do believe. So sounds like we're all on the same page, but we're, again, I don't want anybody to get caught up on a rate. It's just those are guesstimations. He truly can pick any rate that he wants. But that all sounds within reason.
Okay, I said it was my last question, but I have one more. They're saying that our banks here are very insolvent, with all the stuff that's been going on, and that, that we probably won't be able to take a lot of dinar out of the bank because they won't even, have the currency available, maybe $10,000 a month or something like that. Do you think the banks will become more solvent as the dinar pours into our banks?
Oh, absolutely. It's called fractional banking. The more deposits they get, the more solvent they become. That's the problem that they're having in Iraq, is they don't have enough deposits.
Right. Okay. Well, Mike, thank you very much. You're very informed, and I appreciate everything from all of you.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Now, Mike, let me throw something about my own opinion. I think this one-to-one routine, I think that's smoke and mirrors. I don't think they're talking about $1 dinar to $1 at all.
No, they're not. They're talking about...
I think they're talking in a different language.
Yeah, they're talking, if you bring in a 25,000 note, we'll give you 1,025s.
Yeah, that's got nothing to do with rate.
Yeah, it has nothing to do with the rate. But the, where people come in with the rates around $1 is that they do some calculation and they come in there and they use that one-to-one in their calculation. And, it's truly a guess, but I think you're right. We're on the same page with that.
I don't really understand what he just said. I don't understand what he said, but I kind of got the idea. So
yeah,
I kind of got the idea.
That's all right, ma'am. I only have one statement left for you.
Okay.
I'm so confused.
Join the club.
Exactly.
Thank you for everything.
Thank you so much. All right, I have 2 Georgias left on this list. One of them want to step up? Georgia, *6.
El Picho.
Well, that's all I had, guys. We must have lost 2 Georgias somehow. All right, so Tim, Diana?
Tim, you want to take the next one, or you want me to, honey?
Sure, hon. I'll take it.
Go ahead, hon.
All right. Who wants to go first?
North Carolina.
North Carolina? Delaware. Florida. Arkansas. New Mexico and California. We'll stop right there. North Carolina, you're up.
No, it's South Carolina again.
I'm sorry.
Yukon.
Yes, ma'am.
South Carolina produces more peaches than Georgia ever would, and I just want you to remember that. I was a crazy lady on the first call.
Well, I'll tell you what. I'm on my way.
Come on, I'll get you a basket of peaches, but if it freezes tonight, we're in deep trouble, so the farmers say.
Hey, listen, anything going south would be warmer than what I'm going through.
Well, God bless you, because I tell you what, I don't know how you people live up north. It's too cold here.
Well, I'll tell you what. Right now, I've got a ski suit on, I got a helmet on, I got a headset on, and that's inside the house.
Well, I tell you what, we'll get together, and I will send you a box of MacB peaches in about the middle of July.
I would love that. Thank you very much. I would love that.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you, South Carolina.
We got an echo, Ted.
Yeah,
I got it.
You got it.
It's area code 561. We keep muting you because you have a lot of background noise, so I'm going to unmute you, but you got to mute yourself or I'll have to leave you permanently muted. Go ahead, Tim.
Okay. Delaware, you're up.
Yes, how are you?
Good, hope you are.
Wonderful. You guys are doing a very good job. I really appreciate you. And your being there has been very helpful to so many people. Now, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
My question is, I think I read something last week where one of the companies that is helping Iraq was saying that Iraq will soon go on 1.17 dinar to $1. And that is just saying that we are removing the zero. It's going to be 0.86. I've not been hearing most of the questions and the things that is going on because I was doing something else over here. If anybody have asked that question, I'm sorry. But they are saying it's going to be 1.17 dinar to $1, not the other way around.
That would be a minimum.
Oh, they were saying that would be minimum.
Right.
What that article was saying was that they have helped Iraq to put together all the necessary financial banking law that they needed and all that, and that very soon Iraq currency will become 1.17 dinar to $1 US.
That's at a minimum. Nobody really knows the rate except Shabibi.
Nobody knows. I think Parliament, the chairman of the financial committee in the Parliament was telling us from December to January that is going to be $1.17 to 1 dinar. That was what they were saying that time.
Well, the dinar, in order for Shabibi's plan to work, has to be more valuable than the dollar. Otherwise, people are going to continue to use the United States dollar, and that's what he wants to do away with.
Okay. Well, I guess that's clear now. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Delaware. Florida, you're up.
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Yes. First of all, I'd like to thank all you guys. You guys do a fantastic job. But one thing I have been reading, at least on a lot of sites, that the Chinese have been putting a lot of pressure on the United States and I guess probably Iraq for this RV to come out. What's the reasonings behind that?
I'm going to grab that, Tim.
Go ahead, Mike.
I guess I don't understand because the United States has been putting pressure on China to RV its money for the last 6 months. China's artificially kept its rate very low. So for China to get up and start demanding that anybody else RV, it's very hypocritical of them because they've artificially kept their rate low in order to keep the United States from having issues with our financing. So when I hear these on these other sites, I get a little confused because it doesn't make sense to me that the Chinese would have any say in anything else when they can't even handle their own monetary policy in their own country. And if they truly wanted to put pressure on us, they could lower their value of their money. So it doesn't seem that they're doing anything but trying to play in the world stage. But I don't think they have one thing to do with this RV. It just doesn't make any common sense to me. So when I hear that, I don't know where it's all coming from.
Okay, well, I do appreciate it, and guys, again, I do appreciate all of what you guys do for our community. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Florida. Arkansas, your turn.
Hello?
Hello. Arkansas?
Can you hear me?
I can
you hear
now.
me?
Yeah, we got you.
I have a couple simple questions. Really, I'm kind of new to this dinar thing, and I've been hearing a couple rumors here and there. First of all, I purchased some dinar, and they are in, I guess, the denominations of 250,000. And my question is, someone told me that that is considered the old dinar, and that they're going to make a new dinar, and I will have a short window of time to change to that new dinar, and then when they actually reevaluate, then I'll be able to transfer it. Once they do that, then the new dinar is going to be what's worth money. And my second question is that when you're saying a 1-to-1 is a rate, are you saying that every dinar that I have is going to be worth $1 American, or the rate that I have it now that it's valued at in American money is what it's going to be? I mean,
no, a 1-to-1 exchange, if you have, say, a 500 dinar note, and you go in to the bank to exchange it, they're going to give you 5 100 dinar notes back.
Okay. Okay.
So it'd be an equivalent exchange.
So it'll be an equivalent exchange. Okay. So what my wondering is here, see, because I was turned on to this by my father-in-law, and he kind of explained it in a way that I don't know. I kind of was kind of following what he's got, and he just kind of told me this is a really good investment. I'm going to go and do it, and I kind of understood what's going on. But by listening to this, I think that my understanding is a little different. And so, are we talking about my investment that I made is actually going to grow when when it gets revalued?
Correct. The dinar will be assigned a new value.
Okay. All right. So, I mean, I guess I'll just wait and see what happens. But my first question: so, whenever they go to change it to the new dinar, will I have a short window of opportunity to change it to the new dinar, or will my dinar that I have now be valuable still?
Oh, very valuable. And as far as the window goes, you should have at least 2 years, I would think.
Okay. This guy made it seem like I'll have a very short time to change it over, and so that was my main concern right there. I mean, I'm just still actually waiting for them to come in the mail, and well, as soon as I get them, I'm going to have to change them over. I guess that's basically it. I'm just going to listen in and see if I can get more understanding of what the actual what I'm looking for as considered the value of what my dinar will be worth. I mean, I'm not really too sure of when it's all this whole revalue happens, what it's actually gonna be worth. So.
Well, just imagine if our government said we're going to do away with a $100 bill. So you take it to the bank, they give you 5 20s.
Yes, sir. Oh, okay, dig it. Okay.
And then they're going to change the value of the dinar. Instead of it being worth a dollar being worth $1, a dollar may be worth $3 or $1.17 or $4. Just
okay, that's where I understood it from there. So that's what I kind of understood. But listening in, I was like, maybe my understanding's not right. That's got it. All right. Well, thank you very much, sir, and I hope you have a great day, and I hope we all get blessed with this investment.
Thank you, Arkansas. Let's see. I believe New Mexico.
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you for taking my call. I just have a question and a comment. Now, correct me if I'm wrong. Before the RV can take place, okay, herbal must be implemented by, which means that the government would be shared by the 3 political blocks, okay? So it has to be implemented, and they have not implemented that. HCL law has to be passed. The defense minister, I believe, is the only minister which is they are nominating and trying to put in place. And the budget has to be passed, which I understand it has passed, but it has not been implemented yet. Am I correct?
The budget is passed. It's supposed to be implemented on Tuesday. Part of the herbal agreement, which was the 140, was passed with the budget. There's 2 ministers that need to be seated. That's Interior and the security or defense minister. What am I leaving out, Mike?
No, you're good right now.
HCL law?
Yeah, the signing of the contracts, that needs to be passed. The other part of the HCL where they didn't give the funds, but who's actually going to sign the oil contracts needs to be passed by Parliament.
Okay, so these things need to take place before an RV can even happen, correct?
That's my opinion. Yeah, absolutely.
No. Okay, that's what I was thinking. And, I wanted to make a comment that, even if we purchased a million dinar and it RV'd a little over $1, you know what? That would be a blessing to all of us.
Sure.
And we'd be forever grateful anyhow. So thank you for taking my call.
Thank you, New Mexico. California, you're up.
Thank you. Can you hear me okay?
Perfectly.
Beautiful. First of all, I'd like to thank you guys. I am unbelievably impressed by how intelligent you guys are in your ability to understand a marketplace around the world in such detail. I've enjoyed listening to this, and I want to thank you for sharing it with us. But again, as a person who's bought millions of these things and maybe somewhat naive, the obvious question is, geez, what country in the world wouldn't want to increase the value of their currency? I've listened to many questions.
China's about the only one.
Yeah, right, because they don't want to lose all their business. But if they just grow from, I think Straight Talk said like last week, they go from a fraction of a penny to $1. Like, there's bunches of people over there worth millions of dollars, just laymen, not to mention how it affects the entire world. I don't understand how they can just say, well, we've decided to revalue, and how the whole world's going to accept that. Could you help me please understand that and maybe the mathematics of it? And I hope I'm not asking an embarrassing question, but
it's just like Kuwait. I mean, Kuwait was in the same situation, that their dinar was worth 8 to 10 cents. And all of a sudden they revalued it, and they did not do a managed float, and it went way up, $12, down to $8, down to $3, up to $5, and then they finally got it balanced out around 360, 365. So that's another good reason. The IMF does not want that to happen again. That's why Shabibi is going to do a managed float. So when you hear these people or see these posts that it's going to come out at a real high rate and it won't last but 72 hours, that's not going to happen.
Let me see if I can add a little bit of to this too about the process and how an RV actually happens, because people who have gotten involved may not know what actually happens, because we've been in this for a long time, and there's some assumptions that we know that other people may not know. And in the beginning, before they decide they want to RV, the central bank has to go to the IMF. They go into talks with the IMF. The IMF is the International Monetary Fund. They then do reports about the country. And in these reports, what they do is they look at the natural resources of the country and determine how much value there is in those natural resources and what those can be converted into cash. Complicated equations, firms are brought in, and then the IMF comes back and says, based on what you have, the value of the minerals, exports of your country, you can do an RV from this range to this range, X amount, X percentage. And then they go ahead and they relate it to the rest of the world banking system, so it's not a shock to the system. So when they have done the calculations for Iraq, the information they gave back to Iraq was, you can value your currency anywhere between $1 and $17, but we're going to give you a bit more specifics. We would like you to be within 20% of your nearest neighbor, Kuwait, which at this time is 366, as the high end, and then the low end is up to you wherever you decide you want to put that low end. So the IMF actually comes in and helps to do all these calculations, and there's some other people out there that give them all these information so that they don't come out and shock the world economy. Now, being a central bank, the central banks really kind of run the economies around the world, so they talk with each other in conjunction with that. They kind of all give their okay on what those rates will be through the IMF back to them, and they get all this information before they even do that. Now, they've done this for years before we've even gotten to this point. So the other thing that they have to do is maintain their currency. It can't devalue, it can't jump. The IMF looks for it to be stable, their economy to have, good inflationary pressures, and then they kind of give them the green light and say, you're okay to do all that. So there are some very sophisticated calculations that happen before this whole process gets to the point where we're at. We're beyond that point now. They're to the point where they have to add value, and only Dr. Shabibi knows what that number is and what he's going to be able to give back to his citizens to go ahead and do what he has to do. But he's got all that information beforehand, before those calculations, and that's already made. So hopefully that explains a little bit and answers a little bit of your question.
That's just a fascinating answer. So you guys somehow have information, or intel, as you say, on what the IMF has said and how it has to be close to your neighbor, Kuwait, because that obviously, I'm not saying houses are similar, but, you got comparable sales, right? Your neighbor, Kuwait.
It's not intel. They've actually published papers on that. Those are published papers. If you go to the IMF, you can find those papers, and I think we have them on our thing. They're actually economic papers. They're economic white papers that go through and do all these calculations, and they say here's what, from an economic standpoint, that we do. So it's not intel. It's what they release and what they do for all the countries. They do economic white papers.
I have listened to you last week. I'm just extremely impressed with your brilliance. I don't know if you worked for the CIA in the past. You're a very, very smart guy. How you listened, how you read, someone read the newspaper, you interpreted it. I feel like me and probably thousands of others are just very fortunate that you guys have taken the time and energy. I look forward to learning more about this, and my gosh, hopefully it works. Are there any other closing comments you have, though, specifically about why you think the math is really going to happen, whether it be $1 or 20% close to this $3 and something of Kuwait? It's just a fascinating number, what's going to happen. You're talking about, someone said Donald Trump has $40 million or whatever invested in this. You're talking about a huge wealth transfer from something going from pennies to $1 or $3. It's going to create a worldwide change of funds, right? Isn't that how you see it?
Well, it's definitely going to create some sort of ripple effect across the world economically. And if you know what fractional banking is and how that happens, it's certainly going to create more wealth into the central banking systems that could really help the world's economies at this point in time. There's no doubt. And I think that's why they're taking their time with this and trying to get it right and determine what that is, whatever that is, from zero to whatever. The other thing is that sometimes we feel that this community that we're in is actually larger than we think it is, but if you compare it to the millions or trillions of people out there, to the millions that actually have it, we're actually just a smaller percentage as a whole. We'd like to know, and hopefully all our friends have it, and everybody that we can get involved would have it and be a part of it. But truth of the matter is that number is lower compared to the numbers that are actually out there. So it's going to be interesting. I haven't quite sat down and kind of done all that, but there should be a positive effect in the economy. And when Kuwait RV'd last time, there was a huge economic growth that was transpired when Kuwait did this after Saddam did that, to the point where we were able to have in this country, we were able to have a surplus in our budget without any tax cuts, or without any spending cuts. So, we have to see how that's going to be managed. The wealth will transfer, but most of it will end up back where it all goes, because it's just the way wealth goes. Those of us that will get this will end up giving most of it back. Some of us will keep some of it, and those numbers will change. But it's going to be interesting to see how this actually really positively affects the economy around the world.
And Mike, tell me if you disagree, but due to the Port of Mubarak, I think that Iraq is going to come in very close to Kuwait for the simple fact of taxes and tariffs.
It all kind of makes sense to me. But how they get there, when they get there, you're right, Tim. It does make sense to me. That seems to be, a sound number. But we'll have to see. He could do it. He's got a number of options that he can do, depending on where he's at and inflation and everything else. But I think that's where they want to be. And I think the hullabaloo with Kuwait has always been over the RV price and not anything else but where they were going to peg their currency, because Kuwait has a lot of pride in having that high currency.
But Shabibi also has a lot of pride, too. He said he was going to have the strongest currency in the Middle East. So
it's going to be interesting to watch.
Yes, it will.
Gentlemen, fascinating. I appreciate your time very much on behalf of all of us, Denarians, as you call us. Thank you.
Thank you, New Mexico. California, you're up.
I was California.
Okay, well, I'm sorry. I'm behind.
No problem.
All right, time. I'm going to take one more list. Who wants to be first?
Georgia. Arizona.
Georgia, Arizona. There was a lady at the very first. I didn't quite catch what you said, right before Georgia.
Utah.
No, it was a lady. Utah, I got you on the list, though.
California.
California. Kentucky, I'll take one more. Debbie, can you catch that echo?
Hey, Tim.
Yeah, you got.
Yeah, you got to watch what you're saying there, because that lady from Utah might be a lady from Utah.
Okay. We'll find out in a minute. Can you find that echo, Debbie? I'll reset the room real quick. Okay, when I call your state, you'll have to *6 yourself. California, you're up. You have to *6.
Hi there, this is California, Brooke.
Hey, Brooke.
Hi. I received a forwarded email, and I can't tell where it originated, so I apologize for that. I know that there's the roller coaster that we're warned not to forward, but there's also the rumor yo-yo, and I feel like I'm on the rumor yo-yo tonight because of this email that was forwarded to me. The subject matter of it was banksters in 195 countries had, past tense, had software to siphon off RV deposits. And that, I thought, what am I reading? And because I remember back a couple of weeks ago, or maybe even last week, there were posts saying that there were, quote-unquote, rats in the barn, and that there were arrests around the world of various heads of banks and other financial institutions. And I couldn't understand what they were talking about. Nobody went into any detail about it, but they just said there were arrests and they were shutting the trap doors and they were doing all these things to stop the rats in the barnyard, or in the barn rather. And so I'm wondering if this is connected to that, if this is just an outrageous rumor or something that has been a problem and has gone away.
Well, when you do a wire, it goes through the Federal Reserve before it goes to your bank. They would have to have some pretty powerful software to get by the Federal Reserve.
Okay. Prior to bank. Okay. And
do you
also
agree,
they suggested
Mike?
that we have.
Yeah, I mean, somebody's hacking into that kind of stuff. We got more problems than that, because they're hacking into the Federal Reserve. Not that it can't be done, but a lot of these things are designed to scare people, to get them to do things, buy things. Let me comment on the other stuff that you're there.
The barn
there is
or Concurrent.
There are people that are getting arrested and not arrested financially across the world. Whether it has to do anything with his RV, I doubt it. 2 weeks ago, all those people who said there were rats in the door called for the RV to happen, and that it was going to happen that night. And it didn't happen. Now, conveniently, there's rats and there's dogs and there's all kind of things that have stopped everything from happening. So you take that for what it's worth. Use a little common sense, and maybe you can see where that all goes, because there are certain people, global socialists, who believe that things happen for a specific reason, and all this is all interrelated to glean a lot of wealth from some countries to bring them to other countries. And I don't quite buy into that. There's a lot of wealth that's created and moved on a regular basis through these things. It's a natural process that kind of happens. People take advantage of those things or they don't. But I don't know. I mean, I could be off, but that's just kind of my thought process on that.
I am so reluctant to buy into stories of this nature, yet they're there and they have an impact on your mind and on your emotions. And so I thank you for addressing that. Well, they sound good too. They sound good. You want to believe them. We naturally have a distrust for things going on in the world today. It's very easy to get caught up in things because there's a natural distrust out there already. So it's not a far leap for you to make a leap and go, well, okay, this kind of makes sense to me based on what I see in the world today. So it's easy to play on those emotions. So you almost have to take a step back sometimes when you read this. Even I do. Sometimes it's easy to get caught up in it. Do you agree, Mike, that when we cash in, it should be into one account that is the non-interest-bearing account, and then immediately transferred into a second account, and then close the first so you can shut the door, so to speak, on somebody pulling back saying, oh, this might be a counterfeit, or some lame excuse to withdraw back out funds?
Well, it's very hard to go back and grab a wire after it hits an account. It's damn near impossible for that to happen unless you are specifically in the banking industry and you know specifically that you're doing what you're doing and they know you specifically and they target you specifically. So I don't kind of buy into that, because I've talked to a friend of mine who's in the banking industry, and we talked specifically about wires and being able to go in and get wires. One of the problems they have is they have to be very specific about wires, because once they go and they hit, it's very difficult for them to correct a mistake on a wire. It takes 15 to 30 days from most standpoints of the banks having to do that. So I'm not as paranoid with all that stuff, the transferring between each other, because that's an awful lot of money to be transferring, and that's an awful lot of chances for a mistake to happen. So what I suggest is dealing with the bank that you know, that you have a personal relationship with, people that you know that you see, that may be in your community, and trust your gut. That's going to be your best device against people ripping you off. It's highly unlikely. I don't see it in the news every day that people are getting wires taken back from them and all that kind of stuff. It's damn near impossible once that wire goes to get it back.
Okay. Thank you for informing everybody that's listening that might have received this email to put this rumor to rest.
And there again, California, if you're dealing with your bank, there won't be a wire. It'll just be put into your account. So you wouldn't even have to worry about it.
All right. Thanks again. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Georgia, you're up.
Yeah, good evening, Tim. How are you?
Good. Hope you are.
Yeah, I'm doing good. Hey, this question is for Mike. Mike, I really liked what you said about the basis of the currency being backed by something, like not just drawn out of a hat, like, I think we'll do 1236 right now, and then we'll do that for 72 hours, and then we'll go down to $4, then we'll flip over here, and then we'll, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, people are going crazy out there.
Well,
and
let me tell you a little bit why they can get so crazy, because if you do not have a managed float, then the markets will determine. There's currency trading markets in Chicago, across the world, that determine the value, and it's based on who's buying and who's selling. And it's like the stock market, and it can get very wild. And some people are under the impression that that's what's going to happen here, but Dr. Shabibi didn't want that to happen, because that's what happened in Kuwait. You can have it shoot up very high, and then it can land very, very low, because it's a currency play. It's like a stock play. So he's trying to take all the speculation from the market out of it and keep it as stable as he possibly can. So that's why you get those people out there to come up with these crazy rates. There is a way that could happen, but he's determined that he doesn't want to use that as his means to set the price for his currency. He would rather use the calculations that he has based on what he has in his country and have a solid number that he can maintain.
Now, they did a 7-year study on all their minerals and all the things that they could maybe back their currency to other than oil because, it's a little nerve-wracking to just do it based on oil because there's so much fluctuation in that price. But was that 7-year study, was that done before they discovered this big gold mine?
Yes.
It was. Okay.
Yes, it was.
And then what is their annual revenue? Is it still $26 billion a year? Because that was
Go ahead.
That was $26 billion when they were pumping like 1.6, and now they're at 2.9. So I just wondered if their annual revenues had changed.
It has gone up, and I don't know what those figures are. I'll have to take a look at those. But it was about a 10 or 12% increase from an article that I remember reading in December.
Oh, okay. Do you think that the RV will basically, based on their budget, that their annual revenues, divided by their budget would be probably what they would come out at?
Gosh, I wish it would be that easy.
Oh, okay. Because then it'd be nice they could just pay their bills.
Yeah. I don't think it's that easy, though, the calculations that they're using. It makes sense, but I think we're kind of missing something that needs to be put into that. And I've seen that calculation before. I've done it myself before and went, no, it can't be that easy. Although it sounds good.
It'd be like, your own personal checkbook.
Yeah,
that's
exactly.
How easy it would be.
Yeah. So I think it's a little bit more complicated than that when they really end up with that number. So I like that number. I'll be honest with you.
Yeah. That'd be about 458, which would be really great.
So,
but the other thing is, what would happen to our treasury if, say, it came? Okay, let's say we believe everything out there, and it's going to be 1236. It's going to be 1236 for 30 days or 72 hours or whatever these people are saying. Well, what would happen to our treasury? Because we would be cashing out. The treasury would be holding those. Now, all of a sudden, they paid out $12.36. Now they have a value of $4. They just lost, $8 on every dinar.
It wouldn't be our treasury. It would be our Federal Reserve Bank. The central bank of the United States would hold that. The treasury wouldn't. They would act as a means of exchange to exchange that. But the central bank of the United States actually holds that and has the risk, not the Treasury Department. So
that wouldn't be good.
No, they're not going to lose money. But also, from that standpoint, when you get one of those very high rates, think about what the people over here, how much clamor would there be if a blurb on the news says that, their currency's worth $12 and, we haven't paid for the war, and it would be a political nightmare over here. Because a lot of people would be up in arms hearing that, and trust me, if it's that high, you're going to hear about it. So I doubt, that these rates that are that high are within reason. I think you got to go back down on the common sense, again.
Right. Okay. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Thank you, Georgia. Arizona.
Hi, this is Linda in Arizona.
Hey, Linda.
How you doing?
Good. You?
Sounds like there are a lot of new people on the call tonight, and I wanted to, just from my own perspective, I've been listening to the IQD team since last June when I first purchased my dinar. And from what I've been listening, etc., I wanted to try to just bring out some points. You can correct me if I'm wrong. But it was mentioned tonight also about the port of Labarak. For the new people, Iraq and Kuwait share that port. If the two of them share that port, and the Kuwaiti dinar is at $3.61, according to the Wall Street Journal, why would you have Iraq at 12 cents on the dollar? They couldn't share the port.
It'd be difficult unless they use the U.S. dollar.
Right. And then the other thing, according to the Wall Street Journal, the U.S. Treasury themselves holds 3.5 trillion dinar, Iraqi dinar. Why would they want it if it's worthless? And it's for the new people on the call, the IQD team is going to be here pre and post RV. So if you're listening for the first time, or if you've been listening like I have since last June or before, you want to stay on the call because they will still have these calls. And so it's theiqdteam.com. So after it RVs, don't rush down to your bank or et cetera. Come back to the call. They will be there. They've been there for us, and they will continue, and they're just awesome. Thank you all.
Well, thank you, Linda. And like I said, it'll probably be 3 weeks before I even do anything.
Absolutely. I agree.
Is that all you had, Linda?
Yes, it is. Thank you.
All right, honey. Thank you. I believe I got Utah. Utah.
Hello, can you hear me? This is Utah.
Yeah, we got you.
Thank you very much. I've got a cold. No, I'm not a female.
I didn't think you were.
At least that's what I heard. I thought, is Utah a female or what? No, I'm not. I just got a cold. Please forgive me. I've come on the call late, so I missed most of it, but I listen to this call every chance I get. In fact, I really appreciate the fact that you guys record the call because it gives me time to sit and dissect it, understand what everyone there is saying and your intelligence, your level of intelligence. I really appreciate that, so thank you. I also wanted to say that I've held my dinar since 2005, and for everyone out there listening, you know this thing is heating up because, quite frankly, there was no social media or network of any kind early on when I purchased that dinar. The only thing you had was the Internet, and it was all across the board as to what people thought. I listened to a lot of different calls. I listened to Call Squad and what have you. But I want to say that you guys' information is absolutely stellar, and it makes a lot of sense. The question I have, and it's all across the board, but like a lot of people out there, when this RV happens, it'll make me an instant millionaire. I'm wondering if Dr. Shabibi has considered that, and there are those out there who believe that when the dinar does RV, it'll RV in a graduating state where it'll come in low initially in order to draw those dinar dollars back in for those people who are impatient and want to get their money out quick. I'm wondering who pays for the RV?
He will not be able to do that with a managed float. We're getting an echo. Are you on Skype?
Hold on just a second. Let me turn this. Okay, actually what I do is I plug it into my stereo system so I can listen to you and cook at the same time.
Oh, I got you. Oh, that's
I just unplugged it, but if you think about it, with all the people that are holding dinar out there, if this thing RVs even at $1, it's going to make a lot of people millionaires. Who pays for this? How does that all work? And maybe I missed something early on. I know that Mike indicated there will be a ripple effect. It's going to create a lot of millionaires. Who's considering this, and how does that all work?
Tim, let me grab that real quick. Dr. Shabibi pays for the RV. His country has to pay for all the money that's out there. And if you look at what he's told us, and this is the beauty of it, he has told us that they're going to take this in and give us a 2-year period, and then they mentioned something about a 10-year period. Okay? So what happens is that we RV, you run to the bank, you cash in, those dinars go to, not the Treasury, they go to our central bank, the Federal Reserve, which is not part of our government. They hold that as part of the central bank. Now that central bank has 10 years to turn in that currency. They get to mark it on their books as a foreign asset, valued at whatever it's valued, and they've got 10 years to feed it back to Dr. Shabibi. So as his country grows in the next 10 or 15 years and his GDP goes up and up and up, he basically depreciates the value of what he's got out there, and it costs him almost nothing for the RV that's sitting out there. How we pay for it is we print more money. Then when you take that money you deposit into the bank, it creates a fractional banking episode, which actually brings more money into the central banking system, and they end up paying for that money by you depositing it and reloaning it and the interest and everything that's paid on the amount of money that goes in and out. So that kind of pays for itself in itself. But how he pays for it is he depreciates it over 10 years, and his country grows in value over that 10-year period. So it's he calls up the central banks and says, buddies, I need X amount now, give it to me, and they'll give it to him.
I
so
see.
That's kind of how that works.
I see. So, and you indicated, Mike, that in order for them to create value in their dinar, they have to at least bring that in at equivalent or slightly greater than the dollar for people to use that. Correct?
Makes sense to me. Think about it. If I got a dinar that buys me nothing now, and I got a dollar that buys me X amount, I have to create the purchasing power to be at least equivalent to that dollar. But I want you to use that, so it has to be more than that dollar. It's the only thing that makes sense. So it has to be valued at more than the dollar when it first comes out, no matter what, in my opinion, what I see, because then the people won't use it. They'll still continue to use the dollars. And
so you're thinking that by them revaluing their money, creating a greater value than the dollar, it will lower the inflationary factor in Iraq, and their country will automatically become economically very wealthy.
Yes, exactly. And then all they really need to do is they need people to invest and rebuild the infrastructure, and the banking system takes over, and the economy grows from there. We're seeing it as it's being birthed.
Thank you very much for that explanation. I appreciate that.
Thank you. We appreciate you guys. Enjoy your dinner.
Thank you, Utah. I hope your cold gets better.
So do I.
Kentucky.
Yeah, Tim.
Yeah, you're coming in real low.
How's that?
You're still low.
Well, let me see. That's about all I can do.
Well, you got a little bit better. Now we got echo.
Do what?
It's echoing now. Do you have it on speaker?
No.
Okay, well, go ahead with your question. We'll try to get through it.
I was just hearing all the talk about the rate that it would come in, and I remember months ago when Joy talked about the dinar, that Shabibi made the comment that it would be greater than or equal to the Kuwaiti dinar.
I don't remember that comment, but I do remember him saying that it would be the strongest currency in the Middle East.
Right.
Which right now Kuwait is.
Right. That's the only thing I had to say. And it's good to hear you back.
Well, thank you, Kentucky. I appreciate it. It's good to be back.
Hey, and that stuff you're taking, if you could give it to Joy and Vic and bring them back, I sure would appreciate it.
Well, I kind of like having Mike and Shannon here.
Well, I do too. I appreciate Mike and everything everybody does, but I sure miss Joe and Vic.
But we appreciate you, Kentucky.
How many on your list more?
That was the last one. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
It's all yours.
Thank you, Tim. Okay,
Oregon.
I'm ready. Oregon.
Florida.
Florida.
Michigan.
Michigan. Two more?
Georgia.
Pardon me?
Georgia.
Georgia.
Yeah.
One more?
Florida.
And Florida, too.
My question is, it seems to me that gold and silver and precious metals, when this happens, I would think that they would go down. What do you guys think about that?
That's probably a pretty good assumption. But then
I
again,
think it'll be short-lived, though.
It's like $1,700, and I think it'll go back down to 8 or something, and then maybe start climbing up. But I think the initial thing, you think the dollar is going to be weaker or stronger then?
Dollar should be a little bit stronger. Gold should go down. I don't know if it'll go down as much as that because there's other factors involved in the gold. There's a lot of speculation going on right now in gold too. So
okay,
there's a little bubble in there. So, but the dollar should get a bit stronger. I don't know if we'll see it get very strong, but we should see some strength in that. It's 70, maybe up to 90, 92, 93 cents, right around in that range.
Well, it's certainly going to help the deficit, for crying out loud, you would think.
We would
right?
think, yeah, absolutely. It should bring some, depending on what they decide to do with the surplus that they get from all of this. If they apply it to the deficit, it would be great. If they decide to apply it someplace else, then that could be another story, too.
What better re-election thing could the president ever have than that happening? My.
Interesting.
The double-edged sword there.
Interesting.
Anyway, I really appreciate you guys. I'm going to get off the line so other people can go. God bless you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
God
you.
bless, too.
Thank you, Oregon. Florida 1, you are up. Of course.
I had a quick, before I get into the main course here, there was a sweet lady that came on earlier that had a friend that was a pilot, but she had slipped up and said something about having her dinars in a safe deposit box, and I just wanted to throw my $2 worth in on that, and I would recommend for her to take them out. I don't know how y'all feel about that, but I wouldn't have them gold, silver, dollars, anything in a safe deposit box. But I won't stay on that subject long. You guys, a light went off tonight on the 1-to-1. Thank you, Yukon. Wow. Oh, my God. Yeah. That just debunked a lot, in my opinion, on the 1-to-1 theory of, in other words, the 25,000 note is going to now be worth 25. So 1-to-1. That really opened my eyes on that subject. But the other main course that I wanted to bring up, Mike or whomever, oh boy, I just had a brain fart. Can y'all hear me? Hello?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Sure can.
Okay. Let my brain fart shut my phone off.
Oh.
When y'all are talking about Mike, you said something about a two-stage, and I've always believed in that theory. But you seem to have steered away from it in some of the questions tonight. And when they removed the zeros, they released the lower denoms. And it, in the ballpark of a 1-to-1, as far as coming out at 86 cents to $1.17. Now, that's not a revalue, according to you and my theory all along. But then they can revalue after that. That gets away from the managed float of having to do so much percentage over a period of time, which could very well kick it up to the ballpark of where we feel that we need to be at.
Right. Let me see if I can maybe clarify a little bit better and to go. I always believe that the leading of the zeros or the dropping of the zeros doesn't have anything to do with revaluing the currency. What that has to do is with replacing the currency or putting out the lower denominations. And when they do that, they're gonna release some new denominations, and you can go into the bank and get a 1-for-1 exchange. So if I give a 25,000 note, they'll give me 1,025 notes. That's where the 1-to-1 comes in. Then the second episode, or the second thing that would happen, is there would be a revaluation at some point in time, either before, during, or after the release of those notes. So that's the two stages of things happening. So if you kind of think of it that way, and then put your managed float into that, then it kind of makes sense to you. But everybody kind of confuses the leading of the zeros with the RV, and that's not actually the RV. That's just the replacing of the currency or bringing out the lower denoms. Does that make better sense?
Well, that makes perfectly good sense to me and always has. I just hope that it maybe helps other people out there that, this managed float, oh, my God, if they come out at 86 cents or $1.17, it's going to take them 200 years to get up to $3.
Yeah.
They didn't revalue it yet, but they brought it out to 1-to-1. They got it at 86 cents to $1.17, whatever, and now they can revalue it. Is that correct?
Yeah, they can do that, but you create a situation where you got arbitrage situation, and you'll have, all the smart money would come in and buy everything up at 86 cents, knowing that the real value, based on the calculations that everybody can do and the World Bank has done, is somewhere around $3. So you would have a heck of a time maintaining any type of value because everybody would gobble those lower up, waiting for that revaluation to occur again, and that would really mess him up. That would create a lot of inflation in his country.
So they would almost, in other words, the whales would come in, so they'd almost have to do it simultaneously.
Yes. That's the thought process there.
Yeah, well, I got a feeling on this particular situation, the whales have already entered the building.
Could be. Although we never really know, right?
Yeah, I hear you. Hey, thank you, guys. I appreciate it. I won't take any more of your time. Yukon, get that wet bar set up. You're going to be my new drinking buddy, and I want a heater in there.
Thank you, Florida. Have a good
y'all.
night, Bacardi Rick. Michigan, you are up.
Can you hear me?
Sure can.
Okay. I just want to say dittos to everything everybody else has said about you. Really appreciate you guys.
Thank you. We appreciate all our listeners, too.
Anyway, just to follow along with the previous caller saying there, wouldn't it? You'd have to revalue and get rid of the zeros about the same time, wouldn't you?
Yeah, within a short period of time of each other. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, because you can't have, because you're gonna put out coins, so you can't have those coins would have a mint value more of what they would be worth if you put them out. So that has to be, very close to that same point in time that comes out.
Well, yeah, a 25 dinar note would be worth less than 2 cents, wouldn't it?
Right. So you gotta add value in there.
With that, yeah. So what's the sense of doing that even? So, or why would anybody do it? They wouldn't do it until it's revalued. So. But no, I just wanted to go back. Something I thought I heard you say quite a while ago, a month or so ago now, but that there was 33 trillion dinars printed. Was that trillion?
Trillion, that's correct, yes.
33 trillion.
Yes.
I mean, I think most everybody can comprehend what a million is, and get up to a billion, I have a little bit of trouble. You go to a trillion, it's really, since I heard that, and then there's 3 million barrels of oil produced per day, roughly.
2.6, I believe, is where they're at right now.
Well, let's just say 3 million even.
Yeah.
At $100 a barrel, that's 300. That's $300 billion a day. No, that's $300 million a day.
Yep.
And if I get the arithmetic right, okay, and then you take 300 times 365 days. That's $110 billion a year.
Give or
that
take
sounds
a few.
Like a lot. That sounds like a lot of money.
Right.
But when you get out to trillions, then I just figured, well, let's just say a dollar's worth a dinar, and if you take 33 trillion, divide it by 110 billion. It takes 300 years to get to 33 trillion.
Well, a lot of the large denoms have already been pulled in by the CBI.
So no. Go ahead with this. I like this line of thought because you're missing something that most people do. But go ahead.
Well, yeah, that's what I want to know. I want to know what I'm missing here because it kind of worries me.
It's the deleting of the zeros. You take 3 zeros off that trillion in money supply. You decrease the money supply down. 3 zeros off a trillion is what?
3 zeros off a trillion. It's 333 billion.
Yes, there you go. That's what their new money float will look like. So you take that 33 billion and divide it now, and what do you get?
Oh, by your 110 billion?
Yes,
yes. Yeah, you get, what would that be? I had to do some figuring. There's too many zeros there. It takes a long time.
But essentially what the deleting of the zeros does is it decreases the money supply, the number of bills that are out there. It takes it from 33 trillion.
But then what you're saying, though, is then our 25,000 dinar note is only going to be worth 25.
No, it's a difference. You're comparing apples to oranges because you're actually taking the 25,000 notes out of circulation and you're putting out other notes that have the minus the 3 zeros. So it's not the total money supply comes down, and what he puts out. He wants to decrease the total money supply from 33 trillion. He doesn't need that much once he RVs and has the new currency in lower denominations. So he pulls that off the street, like Tim was saying. He's pulling those larger notes off the street and decreasing his money supply till he gets it to the point where he knows exactly what that equation is going to net him to the bottom line in those billions.
Was that 33 trillion actually printed, or was it just declared or something?
Well, that's what we know that was printed. Well, approximately was printed. We don't have any idea what that exact number is, but that's the approximation.
But I can't get it through my head. Just
yeah, it's tough. It's tough because there's a lot of things that he has to do in order to do this, and part of what he's doing is he's drawing down his money supply by taking those bills off the street now. Plus, he knows that there's so many of those bills outside of the country. So when he does his exchange, he knows exactly what that money supply is going to be. It's going to be exactly it's about 3 zeros less than what he has now.
Well, maybe that's what's holding it up. He's waiting to get it down there. Is that right?
Possibly. That's part of the equation we don't know. Yeah, it's absolutely possible. One of the things that could be in the way.
Now, I heard the United States government owned $2 or $3 trillion worth of. Is that right or
not? We know that there's some exotic currency on the books in the Federal Reserve that is approximately that much, but they don't mark it as dinar. They mark it as exotic currency. So it could be a combination of anything. Yeah.
Well, if they had a couple trillion out there and it came out 3 to 1, why then there's $6 trillion, isn't it? Would that reduce our national debt by $6 trillion?
If they decide to do that, yeah, it can. The Federal Reserve would credit that back to the Treasury Department. The Treasury Department would do what they have. They could put it in the general fund, or they can put it into the deficit. That's their choice when they get money from the Federal Reserve.
That could sway an election, couldn't it?
Very interesting.
Okay. Thank you for everything you do. Appreciate it.
Thank you. We appreciate it.
Thank you, Michigan. Georgia, you're up.
Hello, can you hear me?
Sure can.
I really enjoy all you guys. I lose sleep wanting to stay up listening. This is great. and I'm a recent denarian. I'm only like a month old. So, this is really fun for me. And it was money that I just had laying around. So I'm not really concerned like some people may be spending the wrong kind of money for this. So my question is this. If the budget's going to be implemented Tuesday, could they sneak an RV in tomorrow?
Yes.
I mean, we are waiting for ministers to be appointed, but they have these people in mind, I would think. They're not just going to pick people out of a hat.
Well, the problem being is that it's a little bit more complicated from the political parties than it is like here we have Republicans and Democrats and they just don't like each other. You have extreme cultural differences. And the Iraqi party, who is supposed to have that minister, have some cultural differences with Maliki's party, who are the Ba'athist party, who are the old Saddam party. There's a lot of things that have gone on over the years, and they don't have a whole lot of trust going on between them two. And truly, one of the most powerful men in Iraq when this is going to be done is going to be the security minister, because they'll control the armies and all that kind of stuff. So there's the old thought process that if anybody tries to have a coup and they're in charge of that army, they can come and pull me out of office and get rid of me. So you got to realize that you're dealing with that kind of mentality when you deal with the government end of this.
Then they're probably not going to let the Ba'athists win. and get a minister of their own in there. It doesn't sound like it would be the most practical solution to put that person in charge of their military.
Right, and that's what the Iraqi party's problem is with the whole thing, because they're supposed to have it and go forward. And eventually it will be solved. I mean, it will be solved. They will get the ministers. They will, if Maliki has to step down or something has to happen, they will give a vote of no confidence. But it will happen. It will happen the easy way or the hard way. But it will happen. They will implement the agreement that they had set up to go forward.
How large is that party, the Ba'athist Party, in comparison? They must be minuscule in comparison now.
Yeah, they are fairly small, but they wield a lot of the power in Baghdad because they were in control of Baghdad, that region, before it was there. So,
key word.
It is small.
But it's a key word, work.
Yes.
Creating
they haven't quite gotten it down yet. There's a new game in town.
We're creating a new country there. I mean, we're putting in a new government there.
Absolutely. The groundwork is laid. If they follow the plan, it should be very successful. And there's a lot of pressure to follow the plan. So we just have to wait and see.
You know what convinced me to invest? And it had nothing to do with any of y'all. I just thought there was too much of their money already printed out there for them to just throw it away.
Yep. Just a little common sense, right? Yep.
We're get the money to print 30 trillion some other dollars or whatever, dinaris or whatever they would call them. It would make total economical sense to put them back into use and give them a value that actually works.
Right.
That was my assumption.
Good thought process.
Hey, you guys are great, man. I really enjoy listening to you guys. Keep up the good work.
Thank you for being there.
Yep.
Thank you, Jojo. Florida 2, you are up.
Hello?
Hi.
Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, hi.
Hi.
I am new to this, so if I ask something really crazy, don't think hard of me.
Not at all, and welcome, and congratulations that you're in it.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I have been reading a lot on you guys' website as well as some others, and just needed some clarification. I know that you're looking for this to happen kind of soon, right? Am I right in assuming that?
Well, yeah, we're hoping soon. Yes.
Okay. What I don't really understand is about do you guys know anything as far as the dongs? Because I have some of those, but I'm not sure. How can I say it? What's the perception on what the rates will probably be on those?
The dong I don't know a whole lot about. I don't follow it. I know it's a much different situation than this situation because the country's had the currency in play, and they've had a difficult time maintaining the value of the dong, which is very difficult to RV a currency when you're having a tough time holding the value of it. So I don't know a whole lot about it, and I don't know where the speculation is on that, and I don't know much more. I'm not a big help on that particular currency.
Okay. All right, but that's from what I'm hearing, some people have had their dinars for 7, 8, 9 years. Is this the first time that it has been this close to really happening in a long time?
Yes, this is the most information that's been out. They're actually talking about it in the newspapers that something's going to happen since it's been going on. Yes.
Okay, that's what I need to know. I'm just trying to get a grasp on what's really happening and not really knowing a lot about it, but I was told about it by a family member, so I went and got me some, and I'm saying, okay, well, I'm just going to sit and wait and see how it plays out, and it seems promising. I'm just going to, pray and hope for the best.
There you go. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Florida 2. Due to the time, I'm just going to take 2 states, okay?
Tennessee.
Missouri. And Missouri. Okay, Georgia, I'm going to sneak you in there. That's it. I got my 3. Tennessee, Mississippi, and Georgia. Tennessee, you're up, hon.
No, Missouri.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for everything y'all do.
I got you, Missouri. I didn't mean to say Mississippi. Go ahead, Tennessee. I'm sorry.
Oh, that's fine. Something that confuses me is that they're going to actually cash in 25. Okay. Somebody talking to them? Hello?
I got him. Go ahead.
Okay. So they're actually going to cash in and give somebody 1,025 notes. And to me, that's just so hard to fathom that a person would be walking around with that kind of cash. I mean, how is that solving? I mean, even the idea of it, how could they think that that's feasible? Because I know originally I thought they were just going to give a 25 bill note for the 25,000, and then maybe change the marketplace on how they, like instead of asking 25,000 for a loaf of bread, they would ask 25. So, can you help me understand?
Tim, did you hear all that? I didn't quite get it all.
Yeah, I think what he's referring to is the lot theory, and if you'll go to our website, I can't remember the tab, it's under pre and post RV, I think, and read that article about the lot. That'll give you a little more understanding. Like I was saying earlier, if they decided to get rid of the $100 bill, you would take it to the bank, and they would give you 5 20s.
Yeah, but we're saying 1,000 of something. I mean, that's...
Well, he was just using a 25 note for an example. They're going to have a 100 dinar note too, so you would only get 250 of them.
Oh, I see. So it wouldn't be like this one for 1,000. It wouldn't have to be a $25 note.
No, they wouldn't necessarily, unless you wanted them. They're going to have a 1 dinar note also. They're not going to want to give you 25,000 of those, and you're not going to want to carry 25,000 of them.
Right. Well, okay. I'm sorry. I don't know. I'm trying to take all this in. It's been so much in the last 2 weeks. I mean, I've been following it for a while, but I'm just...
Yeah, the easiest thing to do would be go to our website and click on the pre and post RV tabs and read the articles on the lot. And that'll probably help you a little bit.
Now, what am I saying to you that was leaving an impression that I'm thinking like a lot? Because,
because you said that the 25K note would be equivalent to a 25 note. That's a lot. Yeah, that's a lot.
That was just my confusion. I was thinking like almost 6 months ago. 6 months ago, that was basically how everybody was describing deleting zeros.
Yeah, what they mean by deleting zeros is just removing them from the market.
Yeah.
Okay. They're not just going to whack them off. They're just going to pull them out of the market.
Okay. Well, thank you, Tim.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Tennessee. Missouri, you're up.
Can you hear me?
Before you ask
here's a clarification I was looking for. I was on a call yesterday, and from my understanding, there's got to be some laws that need to be passed before this comes to fruition. And from what was stated on the call is that the House, I guess, and the Senate over there are going to be in session only for like the next 5 days, and then they're going to be off for a month. So I kind of gather that if something doesn't happen in the next few days, that we're off for another month. What is your take on that?
Well, I mean, that's possible.
Well, am I right with the time frame as far as when they're going to be in session and when they're not going to be in session?
Yeah, and that can change depending on what happens. So they can get in next week, and if they need to stay in session longer, they can stay in session longer, or they can leave earlier if they get everything completed. So it's not really set in stone for what they do. They kind of make it up as they go. So if they were to need to stay, they would call an extra session, and they would stay and do what they have to do, almost like a special session that we do here. But it's all up for debate on what they need to pass and what laws need to be done, what are done. Some are done. Some have been passed last year. Some are. There's a whole hodgepodge of things that are out there that we don't know about in that group of things. But there certainly seems to be a few things that need to be done. So we're waiting to see what happens this week once they're in.
Well, Mike, and I'd also heard that basically.
See right here.
Excuse me 1 second, sir. 609. We got a lot of background noise coming from you. I'm going to have to mute you out if you don't put your own phone on mute, okay? Go ahead, sir. I'm sorry, Missouri.
Fine. You're fine. I'm used to that. Also, Mike, I had heard that basically for all matters that the Chapter 7 is basically done except for two provisions that are solely reliant on Kuwait. That there's two things that Iraq has to do to satisfy Kuwait, and the Chapter 7 is done. Do you know anything about that?
Yeah, I believe so. One of those was reparations and the Port of Mubarak, or not the Port of Mubarak, but the border, determining where the border actually exists between Kuwait, and that's where the port is. So those are the two issues that I have, and we feel that those are all done, that basically when Maliki goes over there next week, that they're going to probably release them and maybe do some sort of ceremony at the end of the month at the Arab Summit. But for all consequential purposes, it looks like Chapter 7 is pretty much done the way Kuwait is talking.
Interesting. How's your outlook for the week?
I've got high hopes this week. This should be a really good week. I'd like to see them get a lot of things out of the way this week, and if not have that RV happen, it would be great. But I'd like to see some key things get done in the Parliament this week and move us forward. Lots of dominoes have started falling earlier this month, and with the budget and everything. So we're on a good course right now to hopefully get something done before the Arab Summit.
Sounds good. Well, listen, I appreciate all your help and your knowledge. And this is John Galt in Missouri, just north of Arkansas.
There you go, buddy.
Thank you. Okay, Georgia, you're up.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, great. A couple of little questions. First of all, you guys are awesome. I have learned so much listening to y'all's calls. Y'all are absolutely fabulous. The guy that was talking a minute ago about don't put anything in your safe deposit box, y'all didn't answer that question. Where do you put your dinar if you physically have them? I know you're not going to say, well, tell me what you're going to say.
In a safe in your house. And as Yukon would say, two safe.
Okay, yes, I've heard him say that. Why not a safe deposit box?
Probably be the best place. In your
possession. Say that one more time.
A safe in your possession would probably be the best place.
Okay. All right, and one more question. The person that told me about this was like, high secret security, don't tell anybody, and, 99% this is not going to happen, but if that 1% comes through, it's awesome. But I just want to tell people that I love, and why are people not wanting to tell other people about this? Is it because, I don't know, you tell me.
Well, if I told you I had the winning numbers to Lotto next week, would you believe me? Would you find it hard to believe me? And that's kind of it. It's kind of difficult to walk up to somebody and say, here's what it is, and most people don't have enough knowledge to explain it so that people can understand what they're talking about. They usually just go and say, here, buy this. It's going to go from $0 to $3, and you're going to be a millionaire. And there's usually no ifs, ands, or buts, but we're always raised to be a little bit skeptical of those types of things, so it really tends to run into that skepticism very hard. And always to the people that we love, it's always hardest to explain to those people because we just want them to get it without explanation sometimes too.
Well, is it true that really the little peon people of the world were really not supposed to know about this?
That's correct, yeah. Normally when an RV happens, none of us don't even know about this. This was a presidential executive order that was signed that allowed us to invest, and then the internet and a lot of the troops brought some back, some of the people, and then it just got fire. And I think Texas is where kind of the heart of this all started because the De La Rue company was over there, and it just kind of grew from there and got a life of its own.
Well, I appreciate everything that y'all do. We listen to you all the time, and just thanks so much for your time and all your efforts.
Thank you for being out there and listening. We appreciate it.
Thank you, Georgia. Okay, well, Yukon had to step away for a while, so it's that time, everybody. So, gang, if you want to just say goodnight to everybody.
Good night.
Good night, and be sure to join us again Tuesday. Thanks for being here. Good night, everybody. We appreciate all of you.
Good night. God bless y'all.
This is Ohio, gang. Good night to all of you, and bless you real good.
Thank you.
Not Ohio.
That it?
Good night from Texas. God bless.
Night,
Good night.
Texas.
That it?
Good night from Indiana.
Good night, Indiana.
The city, the home of the barbecue.
Good night, North
Carolina.
Night,
Good night.
North
Good night
Carolina.
from California. From Missouri.
Night from the Big Apple.
Night from Mississippi.
Good night, Mississippi.
Good night from Florida.
Good night, Florida.
Good night from South Carolina.
Night from California.
Good night, California.
Night,
Good
South
night,
Carolina.
Good night.
Night from New York.
Good night, North Carolina.
Good night, Shabibi.
Good night, Shabibi.
Ken in Florida saying good night to everybody.
Good night.
Good night from Brooklyn.
Good night, Brooklyn neighbor.
Good night.
Good night, Tim. Good night, Tim.
Night, Timbo. I was waiting for you.
Good night from Bronx, New York.
Good night, Bronx. Another neighbor.
Good night, national deficit.
Hey, Tim. Yukon didn't step away for a while. He fell in the pond.
He might have went diving looking for his computer.
I think he did.
I thought I saw some air bubbles coming up from the bottom of the lake.
It wasn't because he was breathing.
You silly, silly people.
Might have been some of his goldfish. I don't know. They're probably frozen now up there.
That was Yukon self motorboat right there. What you seen, Bubba?
That's what it was.
I think Yukon's sneaking another cannoli.
So where's Yukon, in the pond?
He's probably drinking some of those chocolate liqueur drinks.
There you go. Good night, everybody. God bless.
Good night.
Night, God
Good
bless
night,
you.
everybody.